Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's June 15th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And I thought I'd start out showing you the daily chart. I did switch over to the September contract on the daily now as well. Doesn't look a whole lot different. You can see we still have this big sell-off, and we did bounce today, but we sold off the highs considerably. Whether or not we're going to And we're starting higher again today. We could rally out of here, but who knows? I mean, I knew it was probably going to be a pretty wild day. I talked about it this morning with it being an FOMC announcement and them expecting, I think they were, expecting a point half to a point and a half, somewhere in there raise, and we got 3/4. So I don't know if that was unexpected, or I'm sure it was already built into the market, whatever we got. The market's always way ahead of the actual announcement. So anyway, here's what it looks like on the daily. Doesn't look like we're rallying out of there yet. Maybe we will. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't go lower yet. So, but quite an interesting day. They did raise. I wasn't surprised when right before the announcement, somewhere this late morning, they raised the margins. At least my broker did. They did change them back this afternoon afterwards, so when things kind of settled back down. So not to be unexpected, and probably smart for a lot of reasons. If it was my brokerage, I'd probably raise it too with what was going on. So it was a pretty wild day. Let's switch over that chart and let's look at it. Here's a look at it. The blue part is you want to be flat about an hour before the announcement, and you can see it was a crazy day. Really, there's two measured legs down there. I mean, the price action is still valid during this stuff, but the volatility and the fluctuations, maybe it's not quite a measured move, but it's pretty close. If you get out all the stems and all, I bet it's probably right on the money. So it's close, but that rally, I mean, prices wanted to go higher, and they did. And we started another leg up here, but that sold off pretty hard late in the day, and we're taking some of it back now, so we'll see. But yeah, you don't want to be trading during this. Generally, you want to stay out about 15 minutes or so. Today, it was probably smart to stay out for a half hour or so, and so I started. There weren't many trades in the afternoon. It was just too wild and crazy. I think I've got one good trade mark there and one green one. And for the most part, I just would have stayed out of it. And like always, you can see the news happened and we sold off, and within a few minutes we were right back where we started. Kind of took it all back. Maybe this is still part of it because this is pretty. This is still a pretty strong and fast move here that happened in just a few minutes. So maybe you aren't back. Maybe you don't trade until this is kind of over. Uh, be honest with you. And you can see even there, we took that back and kind of started over again before we went higher. And by the end of the day, we're right back where we started all over again. So in the end, not much change and kind of sideways with a lot of crazy volatility. So anyway, let's zoom in. We'll go through the trades, and it's not many of them today, and we'll wrap this day up. Maybe we'll come back tomorrow and have a good trading day. 7 o'clock came way over here, but this is just too sideways. Again, we're just chopping sideways. I just don't see anything I like there. Maybe you take this. You could look at this as technically it's not a second entry because you went higher there and then you came back and went higher again. So technically this was your second entry, but it looks like two legs back, and maybe you take that trade. I didn't mark it, but you could argue for that to be green. I'm not crazy about it. But when it comes back here and gives you the triple test, this signal bar is close. With that being the key entry point and a triple test, and I'd probably take that trade. I like it, to be honest with you. You could probably argue that it's green because the signal bar is not perfect, but it's close to closing its upper third. I didn't measure it exactly, but I liked it during real time. And you get a little pullback right here. It's just a first entry. It's right into the highs, so you really can't take that either. And we just kind of chopping up, but I just don't see anything here that says, hey, this is a really good entry until finally you get a triple test here. 1, 2, 3, and a big, nice, pretty bar there. And that is a second entry. Again, you get by the counts, it's not, but that looks like one leg down, a correction, and either way, it's a triple test, and that's what I liked about it. There was a high or low up here, but again, it's right into these highs. And then we're just kind of working down here. It looked like we were just going to get a correction and maybe make a new high, but we didn't. It just kept going lower. Nothing in here. I think it's too early to go short here right into a key entry point. It's possible you maybe took this trade. I didn't mark this trade, but it should be at least green. And looking back at it after the fact, I really like that trade. And you could probably even argue that's a triple test. So that's another reason. I mean, looking at it after the fact, I don't know why I didn't at least mark it green, but you could argue for it to be blue. I mean, it's a clear second entry at the key entry point. Um, just the fact that prices were just struggling to go higher here made me really leery and says, hey, maybe wait on a higher low, and we didn't get one. But I mean, you still would have got a winning trade there, and it's a second entry with a great signal bar at the key entry point. So really looking at it after the fact, I probably should have marked it. Then we just work sideways. I don't see anything here long or short. We drop on down and we come back and confirm that trend line right here. But that's a little, and you could say, hey, that's a second entry, but when it didn't trigger and you got a 3-bar matching high, I don't like that. But when it breaks higher right there and turns back down and gives you a lower high, I like going in there. And then you can argue that's a failure right here. Only problem is it's a outside bar and you got to go short right into all these lows. So I'm not that crazy about it either. But if you took it on the engulfing bar, you're probably okay because I believe there's enough room to scalp out there. I didn't measure it, but I'm pretty sure there's enough room right there to scalp out. Yeah, you got enough room there. And drops on down. I don't see anything else here. We bounce. Don't be trying to pick these bottoms. Um, you come up, you get a break. Try to go higher once, twice. There's a failure there. But that's just too much congestion. You see it comes back real quickly. But then you get a triple test with a big bearish bar, and I like that one. And look at it go. And we drop down, make a new low. Just kind of go sideways. There's a reversal here, but that's too congested. And I just think, again, it's a little early I mean, we do have a break and a new low, but you might get another leg down. And with that congestion right there, I just don't think it's worth taking. We do get that higher low, and it confirms this little spiking channel. But again, you don't have much room there, and you see how it struggles to go higher before it pushes higher. It's just not worth gambling on that. Until finally we come back and you get a chance on this little range here on a triple test. And it's technically a second entry because it went lower and then higher. So maybe you enter that on the break higher right there. As long as there's room between here and here, these highs to get out, you could still go long right there as well. And then notice there's a double bottom here, so it's a new low, and you get a first entry, second entry. So that's a failure, and right off the key entry point. And a nice signal bar too. So I like that one. And we run up here, and we actually get an overshoot, and it just reverses. You're running down, you get a little close outside. I don't see any real opportunity to enter that. That's too congested right there. And that takes you into noon, which we don't want to take anything in there. And I'll mark this as a maybe because it's a second entry off the key entry point. The signal bar is questionable. But again, I think you're probably better off to sit this out until we started this correction here. And I don't see anything in here I like. There's no buys here, and I just don't see any sales here that really look good. So until finally you get a triple test here. Notice you made the high. You test it once. You test it twice. Nice bearish bar. Comes right back down to the other side, kind of what you would expect. And then we're just kind of chopping sideways in the middle of that. No entries there. And prices take off until they go into the 2:30 hour there. So just really that's the only trade I saw I liked in the afternoon. Um, you might argue there's a failure here, but it didn't get back to the EMA or the trend line. Maybe the trend line's a little tighter there. And it's congested, so it's not a good setup. So, not much happening today. Kind of quiet. This FOMC thing really made it crazy. So, if you were going to trade, it needed to be before noon, and probably um, after at least 1:30, maybe 1:45, and there just wasn't much there after that. So, just not that FOMC was just a really a dinger there that kind of took up most of this day. And you're better off just to stay out of that stuff. I mean, I know there's people that trade the news, but even if you knew what was going to happen before it came out, you don't know what the market's going to do. And you see how it always tends to go one way before it really rockets in the other way. And it just gets really volatile. And I mean, is it worth taking a risk of trying to make a few $100s when you might lose a few thousand, or even to make a few thousand when you might lose many thousands? You're better off just stay out of that stuff. I just don't think it's smart trading. And if you might get lucky a time or two, but eventually you're going to get burned. So you just got to be really careful with it. So anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get out of here at a decent hour today. It's already 6 o'clock here, and I'm just now getting to this. I've been still piddling with the website, trying to work on those errors we were having. So we'll keep working on them. It's getting better, and I still don't know if we quite got it tweaked where we need it yet, but we're getting there. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again tomorrow and wrap up our week. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next